Welcome back, mamas. Y'all, today we are going to talk about your core values. How important it is to determine what your core values are. I do this exercise each and every year, and it helps me all throughout my year. And I'm going to tell you how and why, as a mama, you should be thinking about this and why it's important. So let's get to it. Do you wish you had control of your days, that you had a rhythm, but instead feel overwhelmed, scattered, and like there's never enough time? You're in the right place. I'm Danielle, a recovering workaholic, wife, and stay-at-home mom of two girls. I've learned how to reclaim my time and find purpose and freedom so I can be present with my kids and feel like myself again. Here, we embrace where we are, but we don't stay there. So if you're ready to trade the chaos for clarity, the guilt for grace, and the endless to-do list for aligned flow, grab the kiddos a snack and toss in that laundry because I know you're multitasking, and let's do this because your time, your purpose, and you matter. Okay, mamas. So we are walking through things this month that I do in order to create this solid foundation for my year. There are things that I go through each and every year to make sure that I am in alignment with the person that I want to be, that I am in alignment with what is important to me and my family at this given moment of my life. And one of the things is the core values exercise. So I do this each and every year, and it helps me to solidify some core values that I want to make sure and I check myself against all throughout my year. And so I have a very specific way that I do this, and I walk through this in my coaching in a little more depth. But today, I'm going to give you kind of the high level instruction of how I do this each and every year and why I believe it's super important to do, because it just really does give you a sense of what you want to be important to you, because we can get caught up in the ways of this world, in just, what everyone else is doing. If we don't check into what is important to us and why, then we can fall into this trap of, overwhelm and stress. It leads to all of these things that we don't even necessarily recognize are because we've kind of lost ourselves, right? And so this core values exercise really helps me to think about what I want to be important in this season of my life. So I'm going to start with a quote. This one is from Mahatma Gandhi, and it says, "Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny." Your values become your destiny. So this is something where if we aren't careful, right, our values can get kind of pulled into a direction of something that isn't really what our values are. We can just be kind of led into believing that this is what our values are, or this is what our values have become, because we haven't taken the time to sit there and think about it for ourselves, that we just kind of go with the flow. We kind of get into this rhythm, or we don't want to rock the boat, or whatever it is, right? And I want to challenge you that your values are your values. Like, they're core, they're innate to you. Like, you are driven by them. But what happens is when we don't check into what those values are, when we don't remind ourselves of what those values are and what we want to be important to us, we can get caught up in daily life, in what other people's values might be, in what we hear or see, whether it be on TV or on the news or from our friends, or, from the people that you hang out with at work or at church, or that you're put into a group with, or whatever. We can get caught up in other people's values, and we don't even recognize that they're not our own. So this exercise, I believe a lot of these exercises are really important just to remind you of who you are, who you've become, and what's important to you. And so this leads me right into another quote here by Dr. Prem Jagyasi, who says, "If your values correspond completely with the ones prevalent in society currently, or if what you believe as your core values keep changing with time, then it might be possible that you never actually discovered what you value the most." So if we don't take the time to reflect on this, it's dangerous, right? Because we aren't taking the time to discover what we value the most. And so, what are we teaching our kids? Are we teaching our kids what we want to be teaching them, what we actually value? Or are we teaching them kind of what we've been around most recently, what we've been indoctrinated with, what is going on around us in society? When we don't take the time, that's what we wind up doing, right? Whether we want to believe that or not, it winds up happening. And so, what I do each and every year is I sit down and I look at a list of words, and I use a list. Like, I don't just know what my core values are, right? I just use a list, and I will link my list in the show notes so that you can get this list. But you can find core values lists everywhere. Like, if you just Google or ask ChatGPT for a list of core values, they will be provided for you. And what I do is I take that list and I go through it and I determine like which of these words are something that I always value, which are something that I value often, maybe sometimes value, or never value, right? Like, I look at the list of values and I decide whether or not it's a value that I always value or often value, sometimes value, or never value. And if I always value or often value those words, I'll like go through and then I'll circle those ones that I always value or often value. And of those words that like jump off the page at me, I will go and write them on a separate list. I'll write those words down. And typically for me, it's still like too big of a list, because really the number of values that you have is not like, it could be a lot, right? But the ones that you want to focus on, the ones that you want to be your like core values for your year or for this particular season of your life, those are the ones that I want you to like pull out, and I want you to kind of use as a compass, as a guide in your daily life. Like, am I, putting these values first? Like, it's a way to check yourself just in your daily life of whether or not you're doing a good job of what you actually believe that you value and what you believe would be doing a good job, right? Like, am I putting these values first? And so I think a list of 3 to 5 of these is a good amount to kind of check yourself. And you can actually like look at decisions that you're going to make through the lens of these values. Like, if you're trying to make a big decision, like, is this decision in alignment with these values? It's a really great way to be able to, we talked about last week coming up with your word of the year, and that is a word that can guide you, right? These values are also going to be something that you can use to guide you, right? And so I want you to keep like paring that list down until you have 3 to 5. So what I do is, after I write that list of words, then I'll go through and say, okay, is this a 1, a 2, or a 3? Is this like super important to me all the time right now? Is this important to me, but like not super important to me right now? And then, is this sometimes important to me, like right now? So I will give those words a list of 1, 2, or 3. And then hopefully at that point, I only have 5 ones, right? So those will be my 5 words for the year. But if I have more than 5, I'll try to keep going. And I'll take those words and rewrite them again, the ones that I gave a 1. I'll rewrite those words again, and I will look at them again, and I will say, okay, which one of these words do I value the most right now? And then I'll rank them. Like this year when I did it, I wound up with 8 words that still had a 1. And I didn't want 8 words. Like last year I had 8 words and I thought it was going to be okay. Like I thought it was going to be okay with having 8 words. But like really, I always have said you should really only have 3 to 5 words. And I truly proved to myself why I say that is because I think 8 was too many. And so I really want to only have 5 words this year. And so I just pared it down and ranked them in order of which one was the most important to me. And so now I have my list of values for the year that I can take, and I can, like I said, look at decisions through that lens. I can make sure each and every day, like one thing that I do with my core values is I have an alarm set on my phone 2 times during the day. And when that alarm goes off, my core values pop up on my phone and it says what my core values are. And so I look at them each and every day. At those 2 times a day, I look at those words to remind me what my core values are. And then anytime that I'm making a decision or anything, I can go back and look at my core values. I can go and pull up my alarm, right? If I like forget what my 5 words are, I have them written down in different places too, but I can look at what those words are and say, okay, am I living up to those 5 words? If those 5 values are the most important to me, am I living my life in a way that supports those 5 values, right? I have a quote here from Roy T. Bennett that says, your core values act like your internal compass, which navigates the course of your life. If you compromise your core values, you go nowhere. If you compromise your core values, you go nowhere. Now, I know you're going to go somewhere, right? Like you are going to go somewhere. So you are going to go somewhere. However, when you compromise your core values, you're out of alignment and this is what makes you stressed out. This is what makes you overwhelmed. This is what makes you feel like you don't have control over your life because you're not living in alignment with those core values. And when you aren't using those core values to guide where you're going, you're not using those core values to figure out what your true north is, then you can wind up, so lost. Or I guess you could wind up going nowhere, right? Like when you can't make a decision and you're stuck in that freeze, like all your systems are out of whack. And so, there's the fight, flight, or freeze. You might be stuck in freeze, right? You're not fighting, you're not running, but you're also not moving forward. You're not going anywhere. You're frozen because you're kind of paralyzed from lack of knowing what your, true north is, knowing what your core values are, knowing what you are pointed towards. And so these lay that foundation. I feel like it is a very important part of, figuring out who you are, who you want to be, what kind of mom that you want to be to your children. Because when you take the time to sit there and you think about what your core values are, you're going to be able to parent better. You're going to be able to make decisions for your children better because you know what your values are, right? It's all about our values. And when we don't take the time to figure that out, sometimes we get caught up in things that we don't even realize that are becoming our values, that we believe are the right things, but are they really the right things for you, right? I know there are values that I value that they're not necessarily bad, but they're not the most important things to me. And so we could spend our time and our energy going after those values or putting those values first in our life. But is that really what I would want? If I sat there and took the time to discern what my actual core values are and what's most important to me right now, would I still be acting the same way? Would I still be living the same way as I am right now? And so that's what I like to do every year. That's what I like to advise, especially, if you haven't ever done this exercise. I do it every single year. But if you definitely have not done this exercise, it's an amazing exercise to ground you, to give you that foundation that we're talking about, and to give you that joy and fulfillment. I have one last quote I'm going to end here with, and this is from Eckhart Tolle, and it says, unhappiness is created whenever you are out of alignment with your present moment. And we've been talking a lot on the podcast recently about being in the present moment and how to do that. I went very deep into that last week. If you did not listen, I would love for you to go back and listen to that. But when you are out of alignment with your present moment, you are unhappy, right? And this is such a great way to be in alignment with who you want to be in alignment and to be in the present moment. It actually is another way to be able to be present in your moments when you take the time to do these types of things. And so we will talk more on Thursday just about some more mindset and some more things to solidify these type of things. But before then, if you would just go and find either in the show notes or somewhere else, go and find core values and see if you can't do this exercise. It will take you no more than 5, maybe 10 minutes. If you've never done this before and it's something brand new to you, it might take you 10 minutes to kind of really think about these things, but it should not take you very long at all to do this exercise, okay? And I will see you back here on Thursday. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right here on Thursday. Keep smiling, y'all.